In this video, I'm going to give a general overview of negative feedback loops. Ms. Connolly has already talked about homeostasis in her webinars, but just to recap, homeostasis is the regulation of internal conditions within a cell or organism to maintain an optimum environment to function. Our bodies and our cells are made to function under specific conditions, so we need processes that work to maintain these optimal conditions in our bodies. Blood glucose, blood water content, and body temperature are all examples of conditions that we have to keep constant through homeostasis in order for the cells in our body to be able to function. One way of thinking about homeostasis is thinking about it like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You want specific conditions in your body to be not too high, not too low, but just right. Before we go into how negative feedback loops work in humans, let's think about an example of a negative feedback loop in our houses. So a thermostat is a useful example for thinking about negative feedback loops. In this example, we've got a house with a temperature that's been set to 20 degrees Celsius. When it gets really cold outside, the temperature in the house drops. This is then detected by the thermostat, which causes the heating to turn on. The temperature in the house then rises. This is again detected by the thermostat, and the heating is turned off when the temperature reaches the set temperature again. This is an example of a negative feedback loop because the thermostat detects changes in temperature above and below the set point and responds to oppose these changes and to restore the optimum temperature. Let's link this now to what happens in humans. The process of maintaining a steady body temperature is called thermoregulation. We need to be able to maintain steady internal temperatures despite changes in environmental temperature, because the cellular processes in our bodies need a narrow range of temperatures in order to function properly. Let's think about how negative feedback links to this process. Our starting off point is the ideal body temperature, or around 36.8 degrees Celsius. Let's say that something happens. Maybe you go swimming in really cold water, and the body temperature drops. This change in temperature is detected by receptors in a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. A response is activated to try to raise the body temperature again, so the body temperature rises back to the ideal temperature. So what kind of responses would help to raise the body temperature? The responses activated to help raise body temperature could be, for example, shivering, goosebumps, or less blood flow to the skin. What about if body temperature gets too high? Let's start again at ideal body temperature. Something happens, maybe you go outside for a jog on a hot summer day, and the body temperature rises. Again, this temperature change is detected by receptors and a response is activated to bring the body temperature back down to the ideal temperature. What kinds of responses would help to lower the body temperature? Responses activated could be, for example, sweating or more blood flow to the skin. These two feedback loops can be combined into one diagram. This is an example of a negative feedback loop because your body responds to a change in conditions to help to try to restore the ideal optimal conditions. Finally, let's go over the basic structure of a negative feedback loop for any condition in the body. Some change in this condition occurs and is detected by receptors. A response to these changes is activated. The ideal conditions are restored, so the response is turned off. This cycle begins again if the conditions change. You're going to see negative feedback loops showing up again and again throughout your learning of biology in processes like maintaining blood glucose and water content, body temperature, levels of specific hormones in the body, and lots of other processes. This is why it's important to understand the basic idea of a negative feedback loop. Thank you all for listening.